A little girl walked up to a stranger outside a gas station and asked one question that changed everything. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he followed her for 6 blocks. What he saw through that window made him pick up his phone. But he didn't call the police. He called his brothers. This is the story of Melissa and the bikers who became her unlikely heroes. The afternoon sun beat down on the cracked asphalt of Route 9, turning the air above the gas pumps into shimmering waves of heat. Levi kicked the stand down on his Harley and swung off, his leather vest creaking as he stretched his back. The gas station had faded paint, a flickering neon sign, and dead security cameras. He was halfway through filling his tank when he felt eyes on him. She was standing near the corner of the building, partially hidden behind a rusted ice machine. The kid couldn't have been more than 11, maybe 12 at most. But it was the limp that caught his attention first. The way she favored her left leg. Like every step hurt, but she'd learned to hide it. Levi didn't look directly at her. Staring would only scare her off. She moved closer, hesitant, calculating. Her sneakers scuffed against the pavement as she approached, stopping about 6 feet away. Close enough to talk, far enough to run. "Excuse me," she said, her voice small but clear, practiced. "Do you know where the police that helps kids is?" Levi's hand froze on the pump handle. Not the police station. Not a cop. The police that helps kids. Like she'd rehearsed exactly how to ask. Like she knew there was a difference between the ones who helped and the ones who didn't. He turned slowly, keeping his expression neutral. Up close, he could see more. The bruise on her left wrist, fading to yellow-green. The way her right eye seemed slightly swollen, carefully concealed by the angle of her head. The tremor in her hands as she gripped the straps of her backpack. "You lost?" he asked, keeping his voice low and steady. She shook her head quickly. "No, I need to find the place. For kids who need help." A familiar pressure rose in his chest. He'd grown up in houses like the one this girl was probably running from. He'd seen his own mother with bruises she blamed on doors and stairs. He recognized the careful way this kid held herself, like she was made of glass, and knew it. "There's a station about 2 miles north," he said, gesturing vaguely up the road. "But it's a long walk." She nodded, absorbing the information like she was filing it away. "Okay, thank you." She turned to leave, that limp more pronounced now that she thought no one was watching. Levi should have let her go. Should have finished filling his tank, paid, and ridden off into whatever afternoon he'd planned. He had a meeting at 4. This wasn't supposed to concern him, but he couldn't. He replaced the nozzle, paid at the pump, and swung back onto his bike. The engine roared to life, and the girl glanced back, startled. Levi didn't acknowledge her. He just pulled out onto the road, heading in the same direction she was walking, keeping a full block between them. She moved with the careful rhythm of someone who'd learned to stay unnoticed. Checking over her shoulder, she stayed close to buildings. Crossed streets only at corners, looking both ways twice. This wasn't a kid wandering lost. This was a kid executing a plan. She adjusted her backpack, paused at a bus stop to scan the street, and kept moving. A minute later, an old woman watering flowers greeted her. The girl offered a polite smile, said something too soft for Levi to hear, and kept going without breaking her rhythm. She slipped into a convenience store and came out moments later, testing for followers. By the time she reached the next block, her pace had slowed. The limp she tried so hard to hide was back in full force. A few turns later, she approached an apartment complex that looked worn down long before she ever lived there. Peeling paint, barred windows, and a rusted, empty playground. The girl disappeared into a ground floor unit, door number 7. The screen door banged shut behind her. He should leave. Call child services with an anonymous tip. Let the system handle it. But Levi had been a kid in the system once. He knew exactly how well that worked. He approached on foot, boots silent on the cracked sidewalk. The apartment's front window had blinds, but they hung crooked, leaving gaps. He moved to the side, staying in the shadows, and looked through. What he saw made his chest tighten and his jaw clench. The man was tall, heavy-set. The belt was already in his hand, folded double, the buckle catching the light from the television. He was yelling, words Levi couldn't quite make out but didn't need to. The tones said everything. And there was Melissa, pressed against the far wall, backpack still on, hands raised slightly like she was trying to make herself smaller. Every time the man's shadow crossed her path, she flinched. Not dramatically, just a tiny, involuntary recoil that came from muscle memory. Levi's hands curled into fists. He knew the system could fail her like it had failed so many others. And in 6 months, a year, this girl would be right back here or somewhere worse. So instead, Levi pulled out his phone and made a different call. Terrence answered on the second ring. You on your way? Change of plans, Levi said quietly, his eyes never leaving the window. I need you and a couple of the brothers. Bring William and Jasper if they're around. No sirens, no cops. Not yet. There was a pause. Then, how bad? Bad enough, Levi said. I'll send you the address. 20 minutes, Terrence replied, and the line went dead. Levi stepped back into the shadows, positioning himself where he could watch both the apartment door and the street. His heart was steady, his mind clear. The girl had asked for help in the only way she knew how, and she'd asked the right person. Minutes later, 2 Harleys rolled up without headlights. Terrence dismounted first, a bear of a man with silver threading through his black beard and eyes that had seen too much to be surprised by anything. William followed, lean and wiry, with hands that could rebuild an engine or break a jaw with equal efficiency. Jasper brought up the rear, quiet as always, already scanning the area like he was back on patrol in Kandahar. Levi met them at the corner, keeping his voice low. Ground floor, Unit 7. Man inside, mid-30s, built heavy. Girls maybe 11. She's scared of him. You see him hit her? Terrence asked. Not yet, but he's got a belt in his hand and she's got fresh bruises. Levi's jaw tightened. She asked me where the police that helps kids was. Those exact words. Terrence's expression darkened. Smart kid. Too smart, William muttered. Means she's been thinking about this for a while. Jasper had already moved to the side of the building, phone out, snapping photos of the exterior, the address, the rusted mailboxes with half the numbers missing. We need the kind of record no judge can ignore. That was Jasper, always 3 steps ahead, always thinking about the endgame. 2 tours as a Marine JAG officer had taught him that good intentions meant nothing without proper evidence. Terrence nodded. William, check property records. Find out who owns this place, who's on the lease. Jasper, you're on surveillance. I want photos, timestamps, anything that moves in or out of that apartment. He turned to Levi. You saw inside? West window, blinds are broken. He's pacing, yelling. She's trying to stay out of his reach. He leave at all since you've been here? No. And I don't think she can. Terrence pulled out his phone, scrolled through contacts, and hit dial. He walked a few steps away, voice dropping to a murmur. Levi caught fragments. Need you to pull a favor. Judge who owes us. Kid in immediate danger. William had his laptop out, tethered to his phone. Properties owned by a management company out of Newark. Leased to. He squinted at the screen. Sandra Whitmore. That the mom? Could be, Levi said. Girl didn't mention anyone else. Running her now. More typing. Sandra Whitmore, age 34, works as a night shift supervisor at a packaging plant in Pennsylvania. Been there 8 months. William's eyes narrowed. She's not here. Works 6 nights a week, 12-hour shifts. So who's the guy? Jasper asked, camera still pointed at the window. Going through socials now. William turned the screen. A Facebook profile loaded. Sandra Whitmore with a man in a tank top, his arm around her shoulders, beer in hand. Dwayne Hopper, boyfriend, moved in 4 months ago. He clicked through. Priors for assault, domestic disturbance, possession. Nothing recent, but he's been on probation twice. Terrence finished his call and returned. Carol's coming. She'll be here by dawn with paperwork. Carol Hendricks? Jasper looked impressed. Thought she retired. She did. But she owes me. Terrence's tone made it clear that debt was being called in tonight. She's already working on an emergency custody order. We get that, we can remove the girl legally, no questions. What about him? Levi nodded toward the apartment. We do this right, he gets arrested on his own charges. We just need enough to make it stick. Terrence looked at each of them. Nobody goes in unless that girl is in immediate danger. We watch, we document, we build the case. Understood. They all nodded. The next 6 hours were the longest of Levi's life. Jasper rotated positions every 45 minutes, capturing different angles. William pulled everything he could find on Dwayne Hopper. 3 previous addresses, 2 DUIs, a restraining order from an ex-girlfriend that had expired. Terrence made calls, waking up contacts, pulling strings that most people didn't even know existed. And Levi watched the window. Around midnight, the yelling stopped. The television went dark. A single light remained on in what had to be the girl's room. A small glow visible through a different window. Levi pulled out his phone and texted the group. She's down for the night. We move at dawn. At almost 6 a.m., a gray station wagon pulled up. Carol Hendricks stepped out looking like she'd never stopped practicing law. Tailored blazer, reading glasses on a chain, leather briefcase that had seen 1,000 courtrooms. She was 70 if she was a day, and she didn't waste time on pleasantries. Show me what you have. Jasper handed her his phone. She scrolled through photos, her expression never changing. This is good. This will hold. She pulled a folder from her briefcase. Judge Carmichael signed the temporary emergency order at 5 a.m. I have 72 hours to make this permanent, which means I need the girl's statement and medical documentation of abuse. She'll talk, William asked. They always do, Carol said quietly. Once they know they're safe. Terrence straightened his vest. Then let's make her safe. They approached Unit 7 as the sun broke over the roofline. Terrence knocked, firm, steady, authoritative but not aggressive. 30 seconds passed. Full minute. The door cracked open. Dwayne Hopper stood there in boxer shorts and a stained undershirt, bloodshot eyes and sour breath. The hell do you want? Carol stepped forward, folder extended. Mr. Hopper, I'm Carol Hendricks, attorney representing the minor child residing at this address. This is an emergency custody order signed by Judge Carmichael of Family Court. I'm here to remove Melissa Whitmore from your care effective immediately. Hopper's face went from confusion to rage in half a second. You can't just, I can and I am. Carol's voice could have cut glass. You can accept service of this order voluntarily or I can have Officer Mitchell. She nodded toward Jasper, who straightened and looked every inch the authority figure he'd once been. Enforce it. Your choice. Behind Hopper, barely visible in the dim apartment, Levi saw movement. Melissa, standing in the hallway, clutching a notebook to her chest like a shield. Her eyes met his. He saw hope. Hopper tried to slam the door. Jasper's boot stopped it cold. Step back, sir, Jasper said, his voice carrying the kind of authority that didn't need volume. This is a legal proceeding. Interfering will result in additional charges. For a moment, it looked like Hopper might try something stupid. His fists clenched, his jaw working like he was chewing through his options. But then he saw Terrence and William flanking the doorway, saw Levi standing just behind them with his arms crossed, and whatever alcohol-fueled courage he'd mustered evaporated. This is bullshit, he spat, but he backed away from the door. Carol entered first, moving with the confidence of someone who'd walked into worse situations and come out holding custody papers. Melissa? My name is Carol. I'm here to help you. You're going to come with me now, sweetheart. Melissa hadn't moved from the hallway. She looked smaller than she had at the gas station, if that was even possible. Her backpack sat at her feet, already packed, like she'd been ready to leave for days. You can't take her, Hopper said, following Carol inside. Sandra will be back tonight. She'll tell you. Ms. Whitmore has been notified. Carol cut him off smoothly. They're already reaching out to her. She'll have the opportunity to contest this order at a hearing scheduled for Monday morning. She turned to Melissa, her voice softening. Do you have everything you need, honey? Melissa nodded slowly. She picked up her backpack and clutched her notebook tighter. As she walked toward the door, Hopper moved like he might block her path. Terrence shifted his weight. Didn't say a word. Didn't have to. Hopper froze. Melissa walked past him without looking up, her limp more pronounced now in the morning light. When she reached Levi, she stopped. You followed me, she said quietly. Yeah, Levi replied. I did. Thank you. He nodded, throat tight. Come on, kid. Let's get you somewhere safe. Outside, the morning air felt cleaner somehow. Carol guided Melissa to the station wagon, speaking softly about what would happen next: medical evaluation, interview with a social worker, temporary placement. Melissa listened with an intensity that broke Levi's heart. This kid had been forced to grow up way too fast. Before getting into the car, Melissa turned back and held out her notebook. I drew things, she said, in case nobody believed me. Carol took it carefully like it was evidence in a trial. Because it was. She opened it to the first page and went very still. Levi looked over her shoulder. The drawings were crude but devastatingly clear. Stick figures with X's for mouths. A large figure with something raised over its head. A small figure on the ground. Dates written in a child's careful handwriting. 12 entries in total. This is very brave, Melissa, Carol said. Her voice steady despite the fury Levi could see building behind her eyes. This is going to help us keep you safe. I promise you that. Melissa got into the car without another word. As Carol pulled away, Levi saw the girl's face in the rear window, watching them until the station wagon turned the corner and disappeared. She's been documenting it, Jasper said, pulling out his phone. More than just survive. She prepared for the day someone would finally listen. William shook his head. 11 years old, and she's building a case against her abuser. No, Terrence agreed. It's not. But she's out now. That's what matters. They regrouped at the clubhouse an hour later. The Iron Shepherd's headquarters was a low-slung building on the industrial edge of town. Part garage, part bar, part sanctuary for men who didn't fit anywhere else. Inside, the air smelled of motor oil and old smoke. William had his laptop open on the bar, files spread across 3 screens. Okay, here's what we're working with. Sandra Whitmore has no priors, no complaints, no red flags. By all accounts, she's working herself to death trying to support her daughter. Then why leave her kid with that piece of garbage? Jasper asked. Probably didn't know how bad it was. Works nights, sleeps days when she's home. Classic situation. Boyfriend's on his best behavior when she's around, shows his true colors when she's not. Terrence was on his phone again, pacing near the jukebox. Carol's got Melissa at the children's hospital now. They're checking her over to ensure she's safe. She's calling me after. Levi sat at the bar nursing black coffee, unable to shake the image of those drawings. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. Yeah. Mr. Levi? A small voice. Melissa. Carol said I could call you. To say thank you properly. You don't have to thank me, kid. Yes, I do. Her voice was stronger now. I asked for other people before you. They just pointed and walked on. You're the only one who followed. Levi pressed his thumb against the bridge of his nose, steadying himself. For other people. You did good, Melissa. You were smart and you were brave and you got yourself out. That's all you. The doctors are nice here, she said. They gave me juice and crackers. And Carol says I don't have to go back there. Ever. That's right. You don't. Where do I go instead? That was the question, wasn't it? Foster care, most likely. Maybe a group home if they couldn't find a placement. The system would grind her up and spit her out just like it did everyone else. Unless. Levi looked at Terrence, who was watching him with knowing eyes. I don't know yet, Levi told her honestly. But we're working on it. And wherever it is, it'll be safe. I promise you that. Okay, Melissa said. I believe you. After she hung up, Terrence walked over and put a hand on Levi's shoulder. Carol's filing for temporary custody under her license. She can keep Melissa for up to 6 months while they sort out permanent placement. And after that? After that, we make sure she ends up somewhere good. We've got connections. People who owe us favors. Terrence's grip tightened. This doesn't end with us just pulling her out, brother. We see this through. All the way. Around the bar, the other brothers nodded. William, Jasper. 3 more who'd shown up when word spread. This was what the Iron Shepherds did. Not the motorcycle rallies or the charity rides or the tough guy reputation. This, showing up when someone needed them. Following through when everyone else walked away. Levi raised his coffee cup. To Melissa. Kids got more courage than most adults I know. To Melissa, they echoed. And somewhere across town, in a hospital room with clean sheets and people who actually cared, a little girl could sleep without fear. 3 days later, Melissa walked into the Iron Shepherds clubhouse. Carol had called ahead. She wants to see them, she'd said. Specifically, she wants to see Levi. And I think it's important for her recovery that she gets to thank the people who helped her. The clubhouse had never been cleaner. Diane, Terrence's wife and the undisputed queen of the old ladies, had spent the morning scrubbing surfaces that hadn't been scrubbed in years. The ashtrays disappeared. Even the pinup calendar came down and the floor was mopped. We're not scaring the kid, Diane had declared, wielding a spray bottle like a weapon. She's been through enough without walking into a biker stereotype. When Melissa arrived, she looked different. Clean clothes, courtesy of Carol. Hair brushed and pulled back with a new scrunchie. The limp was still there, but less pronounced. The doctor said physical therapy would help. Her bruises had faded to yellow shadows. But the biggest change was in her eyes. The fear hadn't completely vanished, but it had been joined by something else. Curiosity. Cautious optimism. Levi stood near the jukebox, suddenly unsure what to do with his hands. He'd faced down rival clubs, bar fights, and more than one angry ex, but a 90-pound kid made him nervous in a way nothing else did. Melissa saw him and walked over without hesitation. Hi. Hey kid. How you doing? Better. She looked around the clubhouse, taking in the motorcycles visible through the open garage bay, the patch-covered walls, the worn leather furniture. This is where you all hang out? Pretty much. It's not much, but it's ours. I like it, she said simply. It feels safe. Diane emerged from the back room carrying a plate stacked with pancakes that could feed a small army. Melissa, honey, you hungry? I made extra. Melissa's eyes widened. Those are all for me? Every last one. And there's syrup, butter, whipped cream, whatever you want. You just sit right here and eat until you can't eat anymore. The toughest men in 3 counties quietly watched her eat pancakes. She ate slowly, methodically, savoring each bite. Nobody rushed her. When she finally pushed the plate away, half the stack still remaining, she looked almost guilty. I couldn't finish. I'm sorry. Don't you dare apologize, Diane said, wrapping the leftovers in foil. These are yours to take home. You eat when you're hungry, not when someone tells you to. Terrence approached, holding something behind his back. He crouched down so he was eye level with Melissa. Got something for you. My daughter Emma had this when she was about your age. She's 16 now, says she's too old for it. But I think he needs a new home. He pulled out a stuffed bear, worn but well-loved, one eye slightly crooked, wearing a tiny leather vest that someone had clearly made by hand. His name's Rebel, Terrence said. He's a good listener. Doesn't judge. And he's tougher than he looks. Melissa took the bear carefully, like it might break. She hugged it to her chest, and for a moment, she looked exactly like the kid she should have been all along. Thank you, she whispered. Later, Carol pulled Levi aside. I spoke with Sandra this morning. She's devastated. Had no idea what was happening. She's already filed charges against Hopper and a restraining order. He's currently sitting in county lockup on assault charges. What about Melissa? Sandra's getting help, therapy, parenting classes, better work schedule. She loves her daughter, Levi. She just made some bad choices. Carol adjusted her glasses. The judge is allowing supervised visits starting next week. If everything goes well, Melissa could be back with her mother in 3 to 4 months. And if it doesn't go well, then we find her somewhere permanent. But I think it will. Sandra's motivated. She knows how close she came to losing her daughter forever. Across the room, Melissa was sitting on the old leather couch, Rebel the bear tucked under one arm, listening to William explain how a carburetor worked. She leaned in, eyes bright, as if someone had finally reopened a door she'd kept locked. Jasper walked over with his phone. She's something else. Asked me about military service. Said she wants to be strong like that someday. She already is, Levi said. As the afternoon wore on, more brothers stopped by. Each one made a point to introduce themselves, to tell Melissa that if she ever needed anything, she just had to ask. They didn't make a big deal of it. Didn't expect gratitude or recognition. They just wanted her to know she wasn't alone anymore. When it was time to leave, Melissa walked back to Levi. She was quiet for a moment, then said, "I knew someone would help if I asked the right way. You did good, kid. Real good. Can I ask you something? Anything." When I asked those other people, the ones who just pointed, do you think they saw what was happening to me? Levi crouched down, meeting her eyes. Honestly, some probably did. Some probably didn't. People are complicated. Sometimes they're scared. Sometimes they're busy. Sometimes they just don't know how to help. But you knew. I knew, he admitted. And I couldn't walk away. Melissa hugged him then, quick and tight, before stepping back with red cheeks. I'm glad you didn't. As Carol's station wagon pulled away, Melissa's face appeared in the rear window again. But this time, she wasn't watching them with desperation. She was waving, and she was smiling. Terrence put his hand on Levi's shoulder. You done good, brother. We all did. Yeah, we did. Terrence looked at the clubhouse, at the brothers filtering back inside, at the sunset painting the sky orange and purple. This is what we're about. Not the bikes, not the leather, not the reputation. This, showing up when someone needs us. Levi nodded, pulling out his phone as it buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Melissa must have convinced Carol to let her have his contact. The message was simple. Thank you for following me. You found the right person too. Attached was a photo. Melissa, Carol, and Rebel the bear, all smiling. Levi saved the photo and slipped his phone back in his pocket. He might never get another message like it. But for today, it was enough to know that one kid was safe. One kid was healing. One kid learned that help can come from unexpected places. Walking back into the clubhouse, he realized the world could still surprise him. Sometimes the people who look the toughest are the ones with the softest hearts. Melissa found her protectors in the last place anyone would expect. What would you have done if you saw what Levi saw? Would you have followed? Would you have called for help? Let us know in the comments below. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to embrace the journey for more stories of courage, compassion, and unexpected heroes. See you in our next video.